All right, make it 3 consecutive games. The Edmonton Oilers come up on the wrong end of it. This road trip out east that was supposed to be a nice way to start the year, a nice chance for the team to bond, a nice early season road trip to get out of the way so they don't have to do it later. Well, it hasn't worked. It's all backfired. It has not gone to plan. The Oilers sputtering their way through that road trip out east. Going to break it all down here on the show. This is Got Your Back. So glad you're along for the ride. Jason Strudwick is ready to roll, as is Chris Sabunia. As always, this show is brought to you by our title sponsor, Timber House Developments. Dream, design, build, service. It is the commitment to process that helps their team create some of the finest custom homes in all of Edmonton. If you're thinking of a garden suite, infill development, or a fully custom home, oh yeah, they do that. Talk to Timber House. If you can dream it, they can build it. Timberhouse.ca is the website where you can check it all out. All right, a Sunday afternoon podcast, back-to-back afternoon games, and the results have been sleepy results, Struds. I don't know, buddy. How did you feel about the afternoon games? A little different trying to get up for it? Like the Oilers look like they've had kind of afternoon legs the last couple.
I love the games. I loved it because after you played, it was like you had a half day off because, the Oilers are done now at, I recognize it's a little bit different time in Detroit, but you'd have the whole evening and then oftentimes the next day would be a day off. So it'd be like a day and a half off or 2 nights off, which is rare in that. And it really give you a chance to regenerate, maybe hang out with your partner or friends, whatever the case may be. So I really liked it. You just had to change everything as far as your prep. So I'd start my prep, I'd get up and have chicken and pasta at like 7 a.m. for a 12 or 1 o'clock game, whatever that time was. For an 8 o'clock game, if I ate at 1, I'd get up 7 hours early to eat it. Then I'd go back to bed and wake up and pretend it was 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So I found that really worked for me. It took me a little while to figure it out. But when it was over, my God, I was so happy. I loved it because you had time to rest and not have to worry about, late nights or anything like that.
How about afternoon pods for you, Zuby? A little less time to prep, sort of pushes your schedule a little, hey, buddy?
A little bit, and with lots going on here with like my parents here, my son's not feeling well, my wife and daughter are out as trying to, Dad, can you look after this for a little bit while I go to work here? But it's all good. We got to watch the game together, so that was fun.
Well, hopefully our performance is a little bit better than what we've seen from the Oilers over the last couple of afternoons. Man, this team, after a decent start in their first couple of games, the quality in their game has completely fallen out, and we're going to dive deep into what the heck we think is going on, Struds. Before we get to our breakdown and before we start digging into this game, though, we do have to say, man, it was a really tough day a couple of days ago. Local sports icon, a good friend, a wonderful family man, a familiar, friendly face in our households for years and years and years was lost. Our good buddy John Sexsmith, Struds, passed away after just an incredibly courageous battle with cancer. This guy had been going through it for, I think it was 13 years. And seeing him around the last 13 years, he kept working through it. He kept pushing through it. He was never down. He was always up. He was an absolute inspiration. And really tough news the other day that we lost John. So we're thinking a lot of his family. And just a big loss for the family, big loss for the community, for the sports community in town, Struds. I know you knew John a little bit too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his company. He interviewed me when I was an Oiler. Obviously hard to get those interviews, but then also he was my neighbor. We moved into his neighborhood and he was passionate about minor hockey, wildly passionate. Even towards the end of his life, I know that he was working with a team here in Edmonton and others. And, he would be walking his 2 massive dogs around our area and I'd run into him and we'd always talk about minor hockey. And I have a lot of good memories and a lot of good chats with him about that. A guy who, coached for so long and he knew players from all over the place across Alberta. So, obviously his family lost a great person, but the hockey community in Alberta really did lose a huge advocate for our young athletes in this province.
One of those guys too that, I've been in town for quite a long time and, Johnny was here before me. I remember being a younger guy showing up on the scene and on the beat. And he was just one of those guys that was very welcoming, even though he was the competition. I was at CTV, he was at Global, but always very welcoming, always very helpful. Always found the humor in things. If you ever watched his sportscast, boy, we watched Gene every night dive deep for the puns and such. Oh, John was right along those lines too. There, I mean, his sportscasts were just filled with
Yeah.
them, and nobody loved them more than he did. He did it because he loved it, and it amused the heck out of him, and all of us too. So yeah, man, it was a really hard day the other day, and we're just really thinking about his family. He was young, 63, after just an incredibly courageous battle. So I guess we'll dedicate this show to you, John, because we miss you, and we're thinking about his family. So with that, let's get to breaking down this hockey game, shall we? And that is brought to you by our friends at the Canadian Brew House. Hockey lives at the Canadian Brew House. During every Oiler game day at any Edmonton and area location, enter to win Oiler home game tickets at Rogers Place. Plus, enjoy $1 off Molson Canadian and Coors Light tankards. 30 plus beers on tap, 50 plus TVs at all locations, and the biggest rooftop patios in all of Canada. It's the place to go. We all know it. It's the place to go if you're going to catch an Oiler game and you want an establishment to go do it in. It is the Canadian Brew House. Okay, Struds, I want to talk about what happened in this game and the details of it, and maybe we'll talk a little big picture, what's going on with the Oilers and such right now. But I do feel like McDavid and Draisaitl are a starting point for this game and what's going on with this team right now. So what did you see today from those guys?
Today, in the last couple games, it's been similar. When there's an opportunity to use their speed, and we'll just talk off the rush. I'm talking off the rush here. When there's an opportunity to use their speed, instead of driving the puck wide, deep and maybe turning back and find the late guy, they're looking to force a puck to the middle of the ice. And the Devils are like, or the Devils, sorry. Well, the Devils too, but the Red Wings are like, no problem. We'll just plug up in the middle of the ice. And, there was just nothing there. And they're looking for plays that aren't there. Now, those plays open up when you do drive and push the D-man back. And then eventually, maybe the third or fourth time they're backing off. So now that spot's open. They're trying to do it at first. And it sounds so basic. And what I'm talking about is not unskilled play. I'm talking about dictating play to the other opposing team, especially their D-men and their back checkers. And now that opens up other opportunities. So it felt like I was just seeing it on repeat between, well, specifically yesterday and today.
Yeah, last few games, and the other team's big guns just dramatically outplaying McDavid and Draisaitl. We don't see that happen a lot. But Dylan Larkin, I think he ended up with 4 points in this game. This Emmett Finney, this Alberta kid, not that he's one of their top players, but he was playing up in the lineup. Just a great afternoon for him, rooted in hard work and tenacity. And McDavid and Draisaitl definitely weren't anywhere near where the high end of their game normally takes them. I do have to say, Struds, they're not always fantastic, but when they get into a few losses in a row and it's time to try and prevent that third loss, I was surprised that we didn't see a little bit more head down, get to work from 29 and 97, and frankly, 97 in particular. Like normally when McDavid gets frustrated and wants to try and throw the team on his shoulders, we'll see one of those efforts where he's just head down, grinding it out, feet moving, no matter what. And he might not be scoring, but he's creating and drawing penalty Struds. These guys aren't even drawing penalties with their work ethic. And, to me, that's a sign. Not only are they not necessarily creating, but they're not in there grinding it out, doing everything possible, and they're not drawing the penalties. So to me, it's been more kind of a frustration that's been winning the moment rather than just head down sheer effort.
As a D-man, I can tell you, I love it when guys aren't driving me wide or they're not attacking quickly, because I don't have to make those choices. I don't have to reach. They're not making me extend. They're not, overextending me and maybe challenging me with their speed. If you don't challenge the D-men with their speed, well, they're not going to have to hook you. They're not going to have to haul you down. They're not going to have to hold you. So those are one way that you can draw penalties, by pushing the game down below the tops of the circles. You look at the goal that they scored, Draisaitl scored. I mean, Kulak gets it all the way in, chips it in behind their D, gets to it first, chips it to McDavid, up to the top to, I forget, I think it was maybe Nurse or Ekholm, over to Kulak, backdoor tap and Draisaitl. That's how it works. Mm-hmm. One goal I want to highlight here, and this kind of talks about Just where they seem to be right now, and as far as really being dialed in or locked in their game, is the first goal against. Larkin takes the face-off against Connor McDavid. Larkin wins it cleanly, and he moves away to the middle of the ice. Center on center. That's the way you play it. Center on center. Connor doesn't stay at the center. 3 seconds later, it's a one-timer from Larkin in the slot. So, I'm not here to highlight the poor play of Connor McDavid, but that's an example of where when you are feeling it and dialed in as a team, both ends of the ice are being looked after.
Yeah. And I mean, we have to highlight Connor's poor play. Like, he didn't play great. He didn't. And, that just is what it is. I mean, he skates miles out there, and he still gets a fair amount done on a night like this, but it's just not that. I would have expected him to just be more frustrated with where they're at, and for that frustration to manifest itself a lot different than it did. I just broke my microphone, so I'm gonna have to hang on to this.
Jeez, what are you doing over there?
I tried to adjust the arm, and it just completely came off.
A lot of intensity over there. I love it.
A lot of intensity, right? Exactly. Well, maybe I'll give myself a chance to fix it here. Let's go to the Weiss Johnson soundbox. Leon Draisaitl had a very poignant comment after the game where he took some responsibility here. So we'll get into the soundbox, brought to you by Weiss Johnson Heating and Air Conditioning. Their end-of-season AC sale is on now until the end of October. Get up to 20% off any in-stock air conditioners. Visit wjjingle.com for exclusive specials. Just forgot your back, jingle lovers. That's wjjingle.com. Jingle.
Weiss Johnson,
Here is Draisaitl post-game, doing a little reflecting and looking in the mirror.
It's a little bit of time, but it's not that, it's me. That's certainly not feeling it right now. So, the game changes when your top guys, are feeling it and they're seeing it and they're creating offense. It changes the entire dynamic of a group. So, just have to take a look in the mirror and figure something out to be better.
I like that comment from him, Struds. I mean, just kind of owning it like it is what it is. He had a goal. He scored, went to the net and scored a goal, but just overall it hasn't been up to quality. And that's the stuff you want to hear from your leaders, I would say.
Yeah, just taking ownership. I mean, they know. I mean, they know when they're playing their best. They know when they're struggling. And, there's an opportunity here to somewhat salvage a road trip that's really gone sideways on them against some, okay talent or okay teams, and go 2 for 3, which isn't ideal. But if they come home 1-4, that's a lot worse. So I would expect a day off, half day today off, then a day off tomorrow, and then up to Ottawa for the game Tuesday. And there'll be, I think we'll see a more north-south type of game. And Australia's talking about unskilled hockey. No, I'm talking about hockey that gets directly to it. And Kulak had a great quote after the game. He said, we're doing a lot of cutting and weaving right now. And that tells me
I got that clip right here, buddy.
Okay, well then let's rock, man. That's better out of his mouth than mine.
Our zone entries, we're not putting pucks in low. I think that's the game. A lot of the times it's not cutting and weaving and putting passes through guys all the time. It's a lot of time, especially when things aren't going your way, you just put pucks low and get pucks back and work to build your goals.
Yeah, pretty succinct there. I do feel like he's talking about the forwards a bit there. Would that be accurate to say?
100%. That's a direct shot to them. And listen, a lot of times when you listen to players talk after the game, you'll hear what their coaches told them post game, right? They'll say the same thing. So I'm guessing, again, not in the room, but in my experience, usually, especially a guy like Kulak, who's a listener and understands the game, when he hears his coach something, and maybe he was thinking already, but he'll double down on it post. So I think we'll see a cleaner, more direct game from the Oilers. I mean, even where did they end up for shots? I off the top of my head, I don't know if they had 20. Did they even have 20? 18 shots. I mean, 18 shots from this team and 3 from the big guys. Connor and Leon only had 3. So there's a much more direct, straightforward game. And once you do that, everything else opens up. Everything else opens up. But you can't do everything else and have that open up your north-south game. It doesn't work like that.
There's also this thing with McDavid. I mean, for the first time in his career, this deep into a season without finding the twine.
Yeah.
And it'd be one thing if he were blasting 5, 6, 7 shots a night in an effort to get there, Struds, but he's not really even doing that. And one of the first plays in the game, I mean, he's walking right down Main Street, just absolute prime position, and defers off to a guy. Now, if that pass gets through, yeah. I mean, maybe the goalie has to move, and maybe it was at Mangiapane over there has a better look at it. And we've seen that work a million times with McDavid. So you can hear Brownie in my ear, like, McDavid knows the best play. McDavid knows the best play. Okay, Brownie. But I think we can all agree it would be better if McDavid were in the headspace right now of absolutely letting that rip as a no-doubter every time, Struds. Is that not fair? You want him in that headspace right now at 0 goals.
And it's unfair to challenge Brownie who's not here, but I will say this, is that he does know what to do with the puck. But there are some times where as a coach, you can say, hey, Connor, let's simplify this. Do you think maybe there's just a chance to shoot it? We haven't, we're not getting a lot of shots to the net. We're not getting a lot of offense. Let's just get pucks to the net there. Because when Connor's rolling, sure, you want to make that play, and Connor, the Oilers are rolling, it's probably there. And it's a play that maybe gets finished. When you're not rolling, it's a lot more of a challenge. So I would challenge Brownie on that one. So you have to, you can still guide him. He's an incredible, the best offensive player in the league, but you can still guide him and give him some help about what to do.
Anybody said anything? Think anyone said anything on that one? Hey, Connor, might want to shoot that. Like, do you think anybody says anything? Doesn't that feel pretty obvious? Or is it apparently not obvious because he's kind of continuing to do it from the slot?
I don't really know what Knobloch and Connor, what the relationship's like, but I have seen on other teams I was with, they would go through video and show, hey, we're not getting, and every team goes through this. We don't get enough pucks to the net and you're trying to be too fancy. And they'll show clips of everyone not getting the puck to the net. And I felt my teammates, if they took a shot from the slot, unless there's someone sitting back door with a wide open tap in, I'd be like, yeah, I'm okay with that. Now, unskilled player, I get that. But in that moment, when you're not rolling, it is the right thing to get it to the net. So maybe there'll be a video session tomorrow. We'll talk about and a few things, because if you can't coach your top players, and if they can't not accept some kind of challenge, but you need to be able to show everyone, like, hey, we're all trying to get better together, right? This is the goal. So again, I don't know if he said anything or not, but could be in the video just to show opportunities that were missed of getting pucks to the net.
Back to the Weiss Johnson soundbox, Chris Knobloch.
A lot of it got away from our strength of our game was just the execution of our puck play, not making passes, and whether that's giving up a scoring chance immediately from a bad pass or just having to spend more time in the defensive zone.
All right. Pretty common theme. By the way, you talked about Kulak maybe firing, not that he fires shots. He's a pretty respected guy. He can say whatever he wants, but just talking about the forwards on the entries, I would say, and talking about someone else's play. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, did we ever have a player go very, very public with his opinions on how the rest of his team performed that night? Anthony Stolarz. We're not going to give it away, but if you have not heard it, hang in for a little bit here, because Stolarz, oh boy, did he have a lot to say about what was going on in front of him. And I can't wait to hear Strud's opinion on that, and even Zuby's as our resident goaltending mentalist. So looking forward to that conversation coming up here in just a little bit. We want to break down the goals here real quick, Struds, pick out some mistakes here or there, just kind of little lapses that we thought. There was the 1-0 goal, the Larkin goal. One-timer in the slot off the lost draw. I mean, did Bouchard need to be a little bit tighter to him or fronting that shot in a bit of a different way, or was it more about Larkin just being left by McDavid there?
Well, I think it's center on center, right? You lose the faceoff, you stay with your center. So Connor was not on Larkin when he shot the one-timer. That one's on 97.
The 2-0 goal by Finney, that's an offensive zone turnover, I believe, by Frederick back at the other end. And then just a great example of just not making an easy play at the offensive zone, at the offensive blue line, or just inside the zone. And then it just always is going to happen. 15 seconds later, it's back in your end.
Yeah, and so and then unfortunately at the end, it's Darnell Nurse who is trying or not trying to block out or tie up a stick on Finney, and Finney is by himself and Darnell's reaching. So, but I agree, it's that original. I mean, just to go back, Kulak's comments: don't beat someone. You're not rolling right now. Make their D-man turn, and let's just ground and pound below the tops of circles.
The one they got away with, too, was McDavid coming through the middle of the ice, pass right on his stick, bounces off his stick, which never happens. Never happens. 6 seconds later, Larkin rings it off the post back in the defensive zone, right? So just little mistakes, uncharacteristic mistakes up ice. The 3-2 goal. No, wait a minute. Is that the one? No, the 3-1 goal. Sorry. A bit of an odd one. Zuby, you can chime in on this one, buddy. Like, from a goaltending standpoint, did you see that? Did you see that 3-1 goal? I know you're busy juggling kids around and stuff, but
no,
looked like maybe caught him a little off guard.
I don't think it's kind of an unusual shot choice. It's not a place where you're really expecting a shot to come from. Plus, there was a screen, but it's still there's still some responsibility on him because you want to just always take care of the ice, stuff along the ice first when you get a shot that comes unexpectedly. It's the last place you want it to go. So I think there was a screen there. I don't think he expected it, but so kind of a funny one, but I'm sure he wishes he had just been tight to the ice there.
What do you think, Struds? Struds, you're muted there, buddy. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I gotcha. When I look at that goal, I want to put it on Skinner, right? I want to put it on Skinner. I think he was screened. I'm not sure. I think, as Zuby kind of talked about, I think they talked on broadcast, he was in between a little bit, right? I would just like to see him be square there and just let the puck hit him. I'm not sure how that happened with him and Ekholm, but I guess I'm saying I didn't like the goal, and I'm not sure who to assign the blame to here, guys.
Okay. They tried to claw their way back into it and end up giving up the 4-2 empty netter after the Draisaitl 3-2 goal, and end up coming short in that bid to pull themselves back into it. Let's get to our DeBoer's Golf Shop and Fitting Center YouTube poll. Get fit now before you get out your shovels and ice chippers. Get fitted while you still have your summer swing. The TrackMan bays are ready and the deals are hot. Go down and check out their Pro Shop style atmosphere located at 5311 99th Street here in Edmonton. Zuby, what do we have for a poll?
So the poll question today is, what does the stream, what do you think is missing most from this team right now? The options are effort, execution, urgency, or chemistry. We've had a number of write-in votes for all of the above. That's why I said most. What do you think is most missing? Someone else said physicality. I thought that's a worthy write-in vote as well, but the vote very split right now. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for this team. That other than that right now, oh no, that's not true. I was going to say effort was coming in lowest. I think the effort was there late, but effort's no longer the lowest selection on the poll. So we'll see. It's very well spread out, the vote right now.
Okay. Sue says, really like Phil Pizzerne to spot in the lineup, and it would be great to see what his offensive upside is. Glad to see him back. Tomashik will take time to adjust to North American hockey style. In our next segment, we'll get a little bit more into the rest of the lineup and some of what we saw from the depth players and Philp with a goal in back-to-back games. So we have that coming up next. I am sitting in the beautiful Timber Haas studio. Discover how naturally inspired living can make your life better with Timber Haas. Did a great job here on the studio, so our thanks to them. And that was our breakdown brought to you by the Canadian Brew House. Quick break. When we come back, we'll dive into some more elements of the game. Don't forget, we got Ask Us Anything coming up a little bit later on in the show. So if you have specific questions for Struds or myself, fire those in, and Zuby will keep track of those. And we got plenty ahead still here on Got Your Back, presented by Timber Haas Developments.
Wide range of styles and colors from wood grain to white, DLR Vinyl products can make your fencing project pop. Because summers are for chilling and grilling, not sanding and drilling. Go vinyl at dlrvinylproducts.ca.
Mainline Water and Sewer specializes in sewer line repair and replacement using advanced trenchless methods for fast, clean results. They provide detailed sewer assessments and scoping to identify problems before they become costly. Serving both residential and commercial properties, no job is too big or too small, and with over 40 years of experience, they've seen it all. Trust Mainline to keep your lines flowing smoothly. Paulie chiming in saying, let's take a breath. Hyman, Jans, Wallman out. Wallman drastically changes how they move the puck, shift quickly after shift. It's not every third pairing, it's every pairing. A little bit of measured advice there from Paulie to take a breath. Queen Bee Amy chiming in saying, they will get this straight. Rolling right along here on the show, let's get to our takeaways from the afternoon game, brought to you by Chandos Construction. They don't just hire talent, they invest in talent. 100% employee owned, so when their people grow, the whole company grows right along with them. Ready to build something that really matters? Apply now at chandos.com/apply. That's chandos.com/apply. All right, Struds, we saw McDavid and Draisaitl start the game together with Mangiapane. You had a second line of Podkolzin with Nugent Hopkins and Roslovic. And then there was Frederick, Philp, and Kapanen as Knobloch went back to a third line with some bigger guys that he was hoping to be able to lean on the opposition a little bit. And then Howard, Savoy, and Adam Henrique. I'm here to say I do not want to see Howard and Savoy on the same line. Don't want to see it. Howard's struggling to make things happen. Savoy is trying to find it. Savoy needs to play with guys that can get pucks in and help him dig them out and create and make things happen, and it's just not Howard. So to me, it's some empty calories on the ice when you got 53 and 22 out there together. That would be my comment on the bottom six in that line. What did you think from the other two lines tonight?
Well, there's a lot of lines being mixed up, right? So you're trying to figure out on the fly what's going on and who's where. I do agree at the point. I forget, was it Kelly, I think, or someone put it in there about who they're missing. With Hyman, when he returns, that changes everything because it pushes everybody down and somebody out. So you're getting better at the top of your lineup, and then it kind of pushes everyone down, and every line gets better because of the top being, more fixed with the people you want in there. I agree. I don't think Howard and Savoy should be together. I think that Howard he's probably down to his last 48 hours in the NHL. He'll be going down to the minors when they return from Ottawa on Wednesday or Tuesday, whenever they get home. And that's not because I don't think he's a good player. I believe that he needs to play. He needs to play and just get regular. He's had a good run here. It's time to go down and do it and find more minutes down there. Now that changes that up around. I'd like to say Philp in there, continue to play him. Tomashek, the quickness still is the challenge. It was in the lineup tonight. Of all those players, other than Philp, I think Savoy is trending in the right direction. He's quick on the pucks, trying to make plays. So continue to play him. But the combination of those lines, Shaugger, are, from game to game, it's challenged because they're not scoring. So the coach is looking for chemistry, putting everyone together.
Yeah. I mean, he's still doing those things where Howard, I'm talking about now, he'll skate up the ice with the puck and then just look to make something amazing happen at the blue line when everybody watching him can just kind of look at the speed he's moving at and kind of go, it's not happening, right? You got to chip it in and go get it. And before the game, actually, Knobloch was asked about Howard specifically, and he did point to the idea that he's got to do, a little bit more work in going to get pucks back. Right? Like the pursuit. He's actually been okay with him in the defensive zone. He said that he was fairly comfortable with what he's been doing in the defensive zone. And I would agree with that, Struds, which is good. But at a certain point, you got to start making some stuff happen in the other end. And it feels like Savoy is around it. It feels like he's close to breaking through. But it felt like that for Yamamoto. It felt like that for a few players that have been in a similar position. And Savoy's got to find it here, man. He's got to find it here. He's doing things right, but it just hasn't broken through yet.
And that's fair. I hear what you're saying. I think that the constantly mixed up lines, trying to in search of chemistry, offensive chemistry, I think that affects a young player. I think it's nice to know you're going to play with for a little while. So I'm going to give him a pass on that. But I do think he's finding moments in the game where he creates something and using his speed and he's working hard. So I don't want to stop seeing him, right? I want to continue to see him playing. I want to see him continue to get minutes and getting opportunities. I mean, he was almost 15 minutes tonight. That's quite a bit of minutes. And now, to be fair, they missed one forward, so it does, or lost a forward in Kapanen. But I two things. One, they need this player to develop. Two, they have to make sure they continue to develop him. And to do that, you have to keep playing him and put him in those positions. And I've been saying it for like Podkolzin, Frederick, and Savoy. I'd love to see those three guys for a while. That's a line I want to see. I like the heaviness. And just talk to those other two. Say play a very direct game, and that's gives Savoy a little more room to dart in and out, and still dig for pucks. But he can make plays, and those two guys have some skill to tap it in. So I'd love to see that line together.
Can we talk about Trent Frederick for a minute here, Struddy? Like, he's been bumped around the lineup a little bit, but you can tell he's got his foot speed back. I think he seems to be running at a pretty high level in terms of overall health. I'd like to see him find ways to affect games a little bit more often. Like, the Oilers are down in that game. Where's the banging and the crashing and the rustling stuff up a little bit? Where's the hard to the net? Where's the, he doesn't seem like he's a guy who is trying to tilt the emotion of a game through that skill set he has that not many other guys have. And I'm not talking about fighting necessarily, but just he's fast enough to get there, which means he can finish checks. But he's not doing enough for me for a team that is struggling to find energy, struggling to find an identity, struggling to find. He's a guy that can go out there and at the very least try and set that tone a little bit. And I'm just kind of not really seeing it from him.
I didn't like his game tonight. I think this was his weakest game of the year. But what you're talking about, he should be the leader of that band, the North-South game. He should be the guy. There shouldn't be turnovers at the offensive blue line. Chip it behind and go and get it. If you can drive it wide, take it to the net. We saw Philp, I think it was in the third period. He put his shoulder down and just with speed drove it wide. And I don't think he even got a shot off, but at least it went to the net. And Trent needs to be the leader in that. And whatever line he's in, say, guys, let's play below the top of the circles. Let's bump and grind out there like it's a party at Barry T's in 1998. You got to get there. So what I want to see is that from Trent and simplifying his game. Sometimes when you sign a big contract, you feel you have to become something you're not or do more than you're capable of. But you didn't get signed to be anything other than what you are. They want you. They want you to be you. So maybe a reminder for him from a coach, one of the captains on the team, play north-south. Get there, be physical, get to the net, create scrums in front of the other team's net because you're sitting or laying on top of their goalie.
I mean, we're 6 games in. Has he had a crossword for anybody out there yet? Like, can we think of one camera cutaway where maybe I'm forgetting?
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Has there been any emotion or anything from him where you see him grabbing a guy by the scruff of the neck in the slot and straightening somebody out, or finishing a check on, harder than you need to and drawing some people into you? And I don't know. It just seems like a pretty friendly game from a guy that was brought in to help this team not be so friendly all the time. He needs to get back to understanding that's what this team requires from him. It just feels like he's playing the game thinking that's not part of what he's here for, and I don't get that.
If you look at all the games, I mean, there's been very few scrums. Say there was one with Mangiapane, and it looked like it was a brawl, but in reality, it was two guys just jostling each other a little bit, right? So I think the games have not had a lot of motion to it, and that is one thing that he can bring. But I don't think you need to scrum it up. You need to be an instigator. You need to finish hits. You need, and he and Mangiapane can be two guys that do that. I'm looking at Ty Emberson. I'm looking at Kapanen. Those are the kinds of guys I'm looking at. Podkolzin. It's 4 or 5 guys in this lineup that are heavy players that have the speed and the skills required to be heavy, along with Darnell Nurse. So now we're at 6, right? So again, you don't need to be running everybody, but there needs to be some of that in their game. So as much as I'm challenging Connor Leon to play a more north-south game, those players that we just outlined, or I just outlined, can also be the same type of way of bringing that energy and getting in there and just kind of making the other team get on their heels.
This team has a very measured head coach who stays calm. This team is filled with players who don't naturally lean towards playing physical. So there isn't necessarily a real fire physically when this team starts a game. They're just there to kind of, play the game and play hard. And there's certain players that'll finish checks when they can. I just think that the personality of this team is such, Struds, that they can be pretty docile if there's nobody there to light a spark or a firecracker. I think by nature, it's a docile group, and I think it's a fundamental flaw that they've had for a little bit here, but there have been some disruptors. Kane was a little bit of a disruptor when he was healthy and could be in there. You've had some guys in there that can disrupt that. But I'm looking at this group right now, and I'm like, if Trent Frederick is going to play like this, they have nothing. There is no jam, no disruptors, nobody that on a given night will purposefully raise the competitive level of everybody around him by drawing a line in the sand and saying we're here to compete. If that's not going to be Trent Frederick, these guys are going to be a docile, easy spot on the bingo card more nights than not, and that's no good, man. And we're seeing that in the early going here.
I'm going to challenge a little bit there on that one. The group didn't have Kane all year last year. And, one thing we talked about was the lack of physicality in the regular season. Then the team got to the playoffs and they were very physical. So they can crank it up when needed, right? Or when
Ben Hyman got hurt and then they weren't anymore. Yeah.
Well, okay. But they still had Paul Colton. They had guys. Ekholm was barely himself. But
one guy did it in the playoffs, Threads. One guy did it in the playoffs, and their hit total shot through the roof, and then that guy got hurt, and it stopped.
Right, but I think Paul Colton was physical. I think Ekholm was a guy who was really heavy and physical, and they missed him. So that's 3 guys. I mean, if you go through the Florida Panthers, how many of those guys are truly heavy and hitting? Sam Bennett, for sure. Tkachuk, no doubt. Ekblad, for sure. Barkov, Reinhardt, not sure. Lundell, they're heavy, but they're fast players, right? So I think, if you're looking for teams to elevate their emotional level during the regular season, I don't see a lot of teams that do that on a regular basis. The game has kind of evolved. What I want to see is them tilt the ice by the way they forecheck and use their speed to get in there. And then that's how you intimidate the other team. That, to me, is priority number 1 with this group right now, over top of the hitting and physicality.
I just think they go a little bit hand in hand, right? Like, sure, get in there and use your speed on the forecheck, but I mean so use your feet, use your speed, Trent Frederick, and get in on the forecheck and finish checks and do it right from the start of games so that the other team's defense are kind of on alert that, oh boy, this might be a tough night. Kapanen can do it when he wants. He tried. He hurt himself trying to do it tonight, so I'm not going to criticize him tonight. My overarching point is this is a docile team by nature, and I think that will be problematic this year, especially if Frederick is going to play docile like he has. I'll give you the last word on that thought.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, I understand, but they were docile all year last year, right? Yeah. And they found a level in the playoffs to run over 3 teams, right? They ran over the Vegas and Dallas, ran over them. And so now you're looking at, the final. Yeah, they didn't have their best, but that team might know what would have beat them in the last 5 years as Stanley Cup winners.
Yeah. We didn't do a show after yesterday's game. So just if you have a quick thought or 2, Struds, on what we saw yesterday, I think we're seeing a lot of mistakes from the blue line. Of course, Bouchard a couple of games ago had the rough night. He had another one yesterday. Nurse had a really rough go as well. Just the back end in particular, back-to-back games there, Struds, they were just 5-star mistakes coming from a couple of super high-paid guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's early in the year, but I would like to see the group as a whole be more decisive. Make hard plays. Make hard, decisive plays. I'll go to the example of Kulak on Draisaitl's goal. He got that pass and he drove it deep, chipped it in, went and got it back. That was decisive. I'm making a hard play. You go back to last night's game or yesterday's afternoon's game, and you talked about the Darnell Nurse. He throws kind of I don't think he was really sure what he wanted to do. So he kind of threw a pitching wedge backhand up the wall. And no, he had no support. All the forwards are gone. He's the last guy. And it's a breakaway for Jack Hughes. But hard, decisive plays. Boom. You're going to ice it, then ice it. Whatever you decide to do it the hardest, and we'll live with the results. Right now, it just feels like it's a lot of half measures, and we're not sure. I think I'm going to do it. I'm not sure. Okay, I'll do it halfway, and halfway is death in for the Oilers' last couple games.
Yeah, really well said. Okay, let's get to our Relentless Player of the Day, brought to you by UCAN Youth Services, an Edmonton charity that is relentless in creating possibilities for local youth. Mental health drives growth and success. The key to thriving, not just surviving. They have 2 in-house counselors offering free therapy for their youth, so they have the support they need to navigate struggles and rediscover their strength. Really is an awesome organization doing so much good in the community. Proud to be charitable partners with UCAN Youth Services. Visit ucan.ca to donate today. Who are you going to go with today, Struds? Going with the Alberta boy?
Emmett Finney. I got to do it. And so I'm not going to lie. I didn't know who Emmett Finney was till I went to Oil Kings training camp last year and he met his brother. And I really liked his brother as a player. And then he said, well, my other brother plays in Kamloops. I'm like, oh, geez, if you and I know something about that. Well, if you don't know Emmett Finney, don't be surprised. He was in the Bantam draft. He was taken quite late because in his Bantam draft, he was 5'3", 100 pounds. And then he went on to have a great run with the Kamloops Blazers. Drafted in the 7th round by the Detroit Red Wings. 7th round, the NHL draft. Played his 20. Now he's 20, and he's playing in the NHL. Made the team out of camp. Lots of energy. Smart hockey player. 7th round of the 2023 draft. So I love this story. And I'm always interested when you're playing a game, when you're watching a game and someone draws your eye that you don't expect. Like I'm looking for Larkin, DeBrincat, Sider. Those are the types of guys I'm looking for. And I kept going back to this guy. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And why do I like him so much? So 3 points for him tonight. Great story. 7th rounder, probably. I'm not sure exactly where he was drafted in Western League. I'm guessing late.
Not afraid to take it to the net too, hey?
Oh, it's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. Or to go to the net. Take it to the net or drive to the net. It's pretty special.
Lastly, here in our takeaways segment, Struds, just want to ask you about Noah Philp. Scores a goal, comes out, has to stay patient, gets an opportunity, comes back in, and scores another goal. Safe to say, with what's going on this team and the lack of offense, that Noah Philp should probably play the next 10 games straight. Like, he's earned it. Leave him alone. Leave him in the lineup. Let him figure it out. He's clearly got something to show here. Don't take him out again to shuffle in other players right now.
Yeah, no, I think that, it's tough when you're a young player an experienced player trying to stick in a lineup with a lot of options. All you can do is make a case for yourself every night that I should be in the lineup the next day. And if you don't, you got to go to practice and work hard. And it doesn't always make sense and it doesn't always feel good. I've been through it. I've seen it through many people. So for Phil, he did exactly what he was supposed to. He played a pretty good game, scored a goal. All right. Okay, you're not going to play tomorrow against Ottawa. No problem. I'll be the best player in there against Montreal. So keep knocking on the door and make him respect that he needs you in that lineup every night.
All right. That was our takeaway segment, brought to you by Chandos Developments, Chandos Construction. Okay, when we come back, Rob Brown's going to hop in here. We'll have brownie points in Struddy's World, our Take a Lap segment as well, and Ask Us Anything. So make sure you fire in your questions onto the YouTube stream for Struds, and maybe we'll get Brownie to stick around for that too. We'll see how timing on this whole thing goes, but still lots ahead here on the show. So stay with us. This has Got Your Back, presented by Timberhouse Developments.
So at Timberhouse, our guiding philosophy is naturally inspired living. We believe that through design, we can solve problems and enhance people's lives. We follow biophilic design principles in all of our builds to incorporate natural materials, natural light, to enhance all the spaces in a home. When you have your space perfectly reflect who you are and what you value, and it's made well, we think that that just leads to better living.
Choosing to buy a home is one of the biggest financial and personal decisions you'll ever make. It's a decision that requires strategic planning, market expertise, and a trusted advisor to guide the way. The team at Body Realty with Royal LePage AR team combines deep market knowledge, forward-thinking guidance, and exceptional dedication to make the process effortless and stress-free. Where every client is treated like the only client, visit BaddyRealty.com, a real estate group like no other.
When you make a mistake, heads should roll. It's not right. And I'm here, someone has to put their foot down. Now that I say it out loud, it does sound a little crazy. God, I look good.
Wow, would ya? Yes, it is time for Struddy's World, brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. Ready for a deck that lasts? DLR PVC Decking brings you Becca Deck and Wolf Serenity, exclusive boards with a pure PVC core resistant to water, mold, and insects. With a natural wood grain finish protected by UV inhibitors, your deck stays looking new. Without the sanding and staining of wood, in stock now at both Edmonton and Calgary locations, causing them to ask you, wow, would you? DLRVinylProducts.ca. That accidentally became some sort of catchphrase. Some sort of catchphrase for DLR. Accidentally. It was born in the audio booth one day by Brother Rick. Struds, you need some help setting this up because I've got the sound here. How do you want to do this?
Yeah, so I'll just say, so I watched the game last night. The Maple Leafs lost in overtime. And post-game, Anthony Stolarz was interviewed, and he was asked by the surrounding media just what he thought was going on with his team and in that moment. So here's Stolarz, the losing netminder of the Maple Leafs last night.
It was a good third period, but first two periods, we kind of let them walk all over us, and we just didn't play our game. They all worked us in front of the net. They blocked shots. They beat us up and down the ice, and the score was indicative of that. I mean, a lot of the guys have been here for a while. Overtime, you can't let someone beat you up the ice there, and gets a clear-cut breakaway. I mean, minute left, you want to be on the ice in that situation. You got to work hard, got to work back, and it cost us a point there.
So I was watching the game, and it was Seattle playing the Leafs, and what happened was Josh Mahura, the D-man, beat Nylander all the way up the ice. He had started behind him, and he beats Nylander up the ice to get a breakaway and scores on Stolarz. So there's no doubt in that quote who he's talking about. He's talking about arguably the second best player on the Maple Leafs, and he's challenging him. So first off, I wonder, did he say those comments in the dressing room after the game? Did he snap in the room and challenge his teammates, and specifically Nylander, to be better? And two, how were those comments received in the dressing room by not only Willie Nylander, but all his teammates? Because he basically called out the whole team. Really interesting. I want to believe he said it in the dressing room post-game, Shaugger. I have a hard time envisioning someone just saying it to the media without having said it to your teammates. But, ooh, man, I love when it gets spicy in the dressing room, especially after a loss in Toronto.
So I know you love it when it gets spicy. I know you love that it's Toronto and all of this. But, straight up here, I think this was no good. You call out one of the best players on your team on a night where you let in 4. And nowhere in that media availability did he say, I gotta have that one. I mean, it wasn't exactly a spectacular move. Yes, it was a breakaway, but you call out the way your team played. You call out their effort. You call out your second best player. If you want to be on the ice in overtime, you got to work hard. Shaking his finger at him, chastising him. I don't care if he said it in the room after the game, Struds. I cannot imagine they will like this, nor should they. I get emotion, and I don't ever, it makes for great stuff for us to talk about, but this was no good for me. Like, stop the puck and answer the questions. And as the goaltender, don't be calling out the star players on your team this early into the season. I kind of thought it was garbage, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think I do believe you say it post game, you can say it in the media. But if you just jump him and say it in the post game scrum with the media, I think that's a real challenge to the team, because it's unfair. The player doesn't have a chance to defend himself.
We got Brownie in here. Brownie?
Yep, I saw. It was funny. I heard the comments because it got big news. It was like front page, and then when he talked about if you want to play in overtime, blah blah blah. So I went and watched a replay, and I didn't find it horrible, the play by Nylander on the goal. Like, I mean, he got beat, but it wasn't. We've seen games where a guy, the lackluster back check or turning away. I mean, he got to muscle it. It wasn't like it was a horrible play. And I agree with you, Shaugger. I didn't hear Freddy's World, the whole of it, but I heard you, Shaugger. I mean, I'm thinking Stolarz. I'm like, not like you stopped 54. And I don't like players calling out other players. If you want to say we need to be better, we need to do this, but when you're saying he has to be or they have to be better, I don't like that. You can do it in a dressing room. You can call out a guy sitting in the dressing room and say you have to be better, because then they can come right back face to face. I don't like any time publicly, whether it's a coach does it or a player does it. To me, that's in-room stuff, and I don't think what he said was right.
The Neon Rider says, keep the blame game behind closed doors. Now, Zuby, the one thing that hasn't been talked about yet, he got steamrolled in this game, and he was pissed that he got steamrolled. Nobody really went out for much retribution after the fact. Yeah, there was a bit of a scrum in the moment, but he got run over and was mad, and also talked about, I get hit there, kind of had to defend myself. Kudos to the guys that kind of got in there and scrummed it up. But he was additionally angry about that. So, Zuby, the tender in the group here, what do you think?
I don't really like the comment about Nylander. I didn't mind at all him, because he was still calling out his team without making it specific. He was talking about as a whole that there's too much activities, getting bumped too much. I thought he was kind of lumping the officiating in there as well, that they weren't getting calls on those either. I think early in this season, they've been pretty lenient on stuff in the crease. So I don't blame him for being angry about that and going off about that, even if it included that he wasn't happy, that he didn't think his teammates were protecting that area hard enough. Generally, I didn't have a problem with that. I don't really like him calling out Nylander specifically on an overtime goal that wasn't like an Olay, as Brownie said. Like, he was there, like, it wasn't like a terrible, egregious lack of effort on that play.
Okay, let's be honest here. You guys are all offensive people and or a goalie. The Nylander got skated right by him, by Mahura, just skated by him like he was standing still. If you're watching on the bench, I'm like, buddy, you didn't back check hard enough. You got to stay between your man and the net. That was his guy. 3-on-3, that's his guy. So, listen, the comments. He said it. What are you going to do it? But that's a clear one where a D-man blows by a forward on 3-on-3. I mean, that's clear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like he said, we played well in the third period, and you can see what happens when we do that. It wasn't all just crapping on his teammates, but unless I missed it, I think the media availability, I saw about 3 minutes of it, give or take. I don't know that I heard him in there say, like, yeah, I got to make that save. But, I mean, if you say, I got to make that save, but at the same time, we got to tighten up on our details, or we got to this, or we got to that. But, like, you want to be out there in overtime, you have to work hard, or you don't get to play it. Like he's just chastising the guy. Oh, man. Took it way too far. I thought it was, I did not like it one bit. And Zuby, completely disagree with you. He was crapping on the way his team played. He was crapping on their lack of getting in front of the other goaltender. You don't lump yourself in with that as a goalie. You're a goalie. You're standing in net, and they're down at the other end, and you're criticizing what they're doing at the other end. So I think he took it too far on all fronts, Brownie.
I agree, and the players aren't calling you out when you don't make a save. So don't call them. Like, I agree, Stretch, he got beat, but I don't think it was horrendous. I don't with a lack of effort. He got beat. Mahura's coming up full speed. Mahura beat him. So, and I mean, if we've watched over the years, Nylander's one of the few of the core players that actually shows up every night and shows up in big moments. So to me, it's like, yeah, you're calling out the wrong guy there. So yeah, no, I disagree with the way he handled it. Again, I don't like calling anyone out. You can do it in the dressing room. I've been in dressing rooms. You know what? Some guy will stand up and point. He'll get right in the guy's face. I need more of it. I 100% I'm on that side. You don't do it in the press. You don't do it publicly. That's chicken way of doing it. Do it in the dressing room. If you don't like Nylander did, go right up to him in the dressing room and give it to him. But don't go to the press and say it. That is wrong, and that to me creates dissension in a dressing room.
Struddy, your segment, want the last word?
No, I agree with what Brownie said there, except for the fact that he got blown by. He got blown by. I did a goal like that in overtime. Oh man, I blew by. I forget who I blew by, but man, it looked like he was standing still. And I never made anyone look standing still.
All right. Well, Zuby, you got anything left, buddy? We can give the final word to the goalie.
No, I'm good. I stand by what I said, but I do agree. I know for me, before I say anything about anyone else, I'll always say PS should have had that, or that would be PS prescript should have had that one. But so that it would be different for me. But it was obviously frustration boiling over.
But Zuby, there was one time you could have given it to someone else. And what was the guy's name that completely blew the play? And we showed the video. Was it last year?
Well, it was Schweedy.
Schweedy.
It was Schweedy out there at center, but the funny thing is that Schweedy took all the heat for it, but it was our captain, Eric Love, who threw the pizza up the middle for me to have to even make that save.
The Lover, that's right. The Lover just delivered it. He delivered it on time to save. You didn't have to pay the late time.
I love it.
We got to have a Sweeney segment. Who was the Sweeney or the Lover of tonight's game?
Yeah. Sweetie or Love.
Sweeties and lovers, yeah. Lovers and Sweeties, yeah.
We need to roll that video out again, Zuby. Get that video at some point. We're going to bring that back. Dust that one off. All right.
It's around.
That was Struddy's World, brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. Why would you when you can go vinyl with DLR? All right, roll the happy music. We've got Brownie here. We might as well use him for some brownie points. Took him long enough to join the show. Here we go with brownie points, brought to you by the Alberta Ram Dealers. The 2025 Ram 1500 is Motor Trend's Truck of the Year. Check them out at your Alberta Ram dealer to get into this award-winning truck at a competitive price. It is capable, it is stylish, it is powerful. Yes, take a look at this beautiful machine. It is Ram. Brownie, go ahead, my friend. What do you got for us today?
Well, let's start with 3 brownie points to the Edmonton Oilers' Noah Philp, who, despite being a healthy scratch in half the games this year, is tied for third in goals for the Oilers. Didn't understand why he was benched in the third place. Hard to explain to a player that after he scored a goal and was first star of the game, he would not be playing for the next 3 games. I thought he was excellent in the game when he got scratched, and I thought he was very good again in the game tonight. 2 goals in 3 games for a third, fourth line guy. That's pretty good. I've got 71 brownie points to the Red Wings star Dylan Larkin, who matched up head-to-head tonight against 97 and 29 and finished with 4 points and +3. Before the game, Chris Knobloch decided he was going to put Connor and Leon together again, and I thought it was a mistake. I don't mind them playing together, but against the Detroit Red Wings, I felt that you played into the strength of Detroit. They have one of the best two-way forward centermen in the league in Dylan Larkin, and a very, very good defenseman in Maurice Sider. When you put Connor and Leon together, Bob McClellan, it's easy. I'm going to put these 2 out against you every single shift. You didn't get to the depth players of the Detroit Red Wings because Connor and Leon played together, and I thought Dylan Larkin was absolutely excellent in this hockey game against them. I got 12 brownie points to tonight's third period. It was a very low and uneventful game through 45 minutes, but the game picked up after Leon batted in the second goal to make it 3-2. And then we had end-to-end action for 12-plus minutes with no whistle until former Kamloops Blazer Emmett Finney scored into an empty net. There were breakaways, there were posts, there were hits, odd man breaks for over 12 minutes. That was the most entertaining 12 minutes, I believe, thus far this season in any game. Now this one's a good one. It's a long one. I got -2 brownie points to the two Oilers who are trying to be part of Team Canada at the Olympics. Both Bouchard and Skinner are in the conversation for Olympic roster spots. Tonight in Detroit, the Olympic brass was at the game. To take a look at some of the players, you know that Bouchard and Skinner were the guys they were looking at. Tonight, for Stuart Skinner, he has to play his way onto this team. In 4 games this year, he's been good, but in 4 games, he's let in 2 really bad goals. And if you're playing in a tournament that is short, you can't afford those goals. The goal against Calgary, and then tonight, that third goal by Larkin, it can't go in. And the brass of Team Canada saw that. Bouchard, he's 6 games into the season. He's got 0 points. Tonight, he was just average. Those 2 players have to play their way onto a team that won the Four Nation Cup without them. I find them tonight was not a good night for both Skinner or Bouchard. And the most important thing tonight, I got six brownie points to Toronto Blue Jay rookie pitcher Trey Savage, who is pitching in only his 6th ever start in the majors in an elimination game 6 tonight. The rookie started in low A ball. To start this season, he is now pitching the biggest game of the season for the Toronto Blue Jays. So go Jays, go, and those are tonight's brownie points.
All right. That's a solid list. There was lots of action on that list. And again, if you're listening to this the following day, you know the result already. That's why we're not going to spend too much time talking about the Jays, because it'll be cooked in a few hours. Those were brownie points brought to you by the Alberta Ram dealers. Okay, Zuby, I'm going to throw a couple of curveballs at you here because I want to keep using Brownie while he's here and while he's in the car. I want to get to our core adjustments right now, brought to you by HSE Core Services. From creating and managing safety programs to audits and those required contractor registries, HSE Core keeps your business compliant so you can keep working. Visit www.hsecor.com for more information. Brownie, I'm going to kind of shape this one for you because Struds and I talked a lot about Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, what we saw from them, and what we've seen from them over the last number of games. I'm going to kind of give you the floor. Core adjustments for McDavid and Draisaitl in particular to get back to the game they need to be at to help pull this team out of the funk they're in right now. What are you seeing, and what would you like to see from those guys?
I'm seeing poor execution. They can't make a pass. You could go a month last year with Connor McDavid making a poor pass. They're missing 5-foot passes now. I don't know how many times the puck has rolled off Connor's stick as he's breaking into the end. They need to execute better, and they need to lose the bad body language. We've talked in the past a lot on our show, and it's been in the media. Leon wears his heart on his sleeve, and when things aren't going right, when he's frustrated, his body language shows it. And it affects your bench. And we're seeing that more now out of Connor. Last game where he threw his head back, hands up, and slammed his stick against the boards when Bouchard made a bit of a silly play trying to pinch on the power play. The rest of the team sees that. It's like we talked about it a lot of times. If you're sitting on a plane and there's turbulence and you look at the stewardesses and they look calm, you're calm. If you got a coach on the bench, when things are going bad, he looks calm, you're calm. Well, it's also in your leadership. If your leadership looks frustrated, it affects you as a player because you're starting to think, is it me? Did I screw up? Is it my fault? So I think that they need to execute better. And I think just the frustration level, it's becoming so obvious that the TV is showing it during their intermission. That's got to be cut out of their game as well.
Yeah, that tracks, Struds?
Yeah, and the passing is such a good point, Brownie, because I actually made a note of that. We didn't mention it earlier, but I love that because it just, when you're fighting for every puck, when it comes to your stick, it gives me time as a defender to close in on you, right? When you get it and you're now locked in, it's easy. You have extra time to make plays. So I love that point by you.
Last few years, the starts have not been good. McDavid comes in this year. The whole contract situation's floating around out there. Says he wants to get back to some goal-scoring ways. That's not happening. Says he wants the team to get off to a better start. Tired of the bad starts. That's not happening. Some changes in and around the top six with Hyman out. It's thin. So it's been line after line. It's been line soup, Brownie. There's plenty of reason right now for these players to be feeling this frustration. And I know that there's so much runway and that they're going to be fine in the long haul, but it really is on these guys to adjust the way they're going about it right now. They affect things more than anybody else.
They do. It's funny. After last game, Bob Stoffer and I had a conversation. He talked about what lineup changes. You got to bring Howard in. They need more speed. You got to bring Philp in. And my words to him were, there's nothing that coming out of the press box that is going to make this team better. The third and fourth line on the Edmonton Oilers doesn't win you hockey games. This team will win when Connor and Leon and Bouchard play how they're capable of playing. The third and fourth lines have been fine. I mean, Lazar scored, Philp's got 2 goals, Enrique's got a goal. I mean, Frederick's got a goal. That's in 6 games. That's 5 depth players that have scored. The reason the Oilers are losing right now, or they're not off the start that they want, is their best players have been okay, but their bar is so high. So, yeah, to me, the reason that the Oilers lost games are 1-goal games. If Connor and Leon are how they normally are, they win those games. If Connor's got 0 goals, if he has 3 goals on the season, they might have 2 more wins. So, Connor and Leon and Bouchard, those 3 have not got off to the start they want. And this Edmonton Oilers team, the way it's built, they cannot have their stars be average or just okay. They need their stars to be stars.
Yeah, and if I can just jump in here quickly, guys, I think it's fair to mention Bouchard. He has no points. His partner has 1 assist. And Kulak before today had 0 points. He had 2 tonight. So you had 3 defensemen on the Oilers. I think Ekholm got 1 tonight too. You had 3 of your top 4 defensemen with 0 points. So I think that the offense starts in the back end to get it up to those guys. I talked earlier about the defensemen and just kind of not being decisive in their plays. That feeds to the forwards who then struggle, and then they're bumbling it around and then not making plays with speed into the offensive zone. So I don't think we can let those D-men off the hook either.
Yep. Fair point by you. Look at you holding your fellow D-men accountable. Love it. Boys ready? Yeah, dropping the hammer on the blue line. That was Core Adjustments, brought to you by HSE Core Services. Zuby, we're going to push through one more segment here. We're going to get to take a lap, and I'm going to have Struds and Brownie kind of do this because we want to hear from Brownie. It's brought to you by Riverside Motorsports, family-owned and operated, serving Edmonton and area for over 55 years, featuring top brands like Yamaha, Suzuki, Polaris, Husqvarna, Gas, delivering the best selection in Alberta. Big inventory of parts and accessories, and recognized as the #1 KTM dealership in the country. Check them out online, www.riversidemotorsports.com, or stop in their store just off of St. Albert Trail. You two take a couple of laps around the league, and I will be right back.
Okay. Going to stretch his back out. All right, guys. Here we go. Today, the Canucks and the Caps played today. And Hedl was coming through neutral zone, and Tom Wilson came across and absolutely blew him up. Immediately in the replay I saw, the announcers, that's a 5 and a major. It was reviewed. There was no major. That was shoulder to chest. Absolutely rocked him. Now, unfortunately for Hedl, he did not get up immediately and actually didn't come back from the game. He has a history of hits. A history of concussions off hits like this from him. But Brownie, I'm not sure if you saw the hit. I didn't feel the hit was legal. In fact, I don't want those types of hits to leave the game. But it doesn't mean that Hedl isn't out for, well, we know who knows for how long now.
Yeah, I've heard all about it. I haven't seen it yet. thing with Wilson, he has a track record. And the problem is, I mean, a guy like Wilson, he's a mammoth of a man that if you got your head down and he hits you, you're paying a price. And for a Vancouver Canucks team that is already thin at center with their star player Pedersen still struggling, this is a huge, huge blow. So Tom Wilson, he's one of those guys that always is very, very close to the line. And when someone that is that big is close to the line and occasionally goes over, you're going to, because that Beetle is a nice hockey player that the Canucks desperately need.
I'll weigh in on the hit real quick, Struds.
Go ahead.
I didn't think necessarily that it was egregious. I thought it was like a rock solid, really, really hard hit, but I didn't view it as a headshot. Did you?
No, not at all. It was a chest shot. He hit him about as hard as you can hit another human in the chest. It was absolutely incredible. Like it's what a hard hit. I hope Hedo's okay, but that doesn't mean I want those hits out of the game. Next up, last night, Brad Marchand got into it with Buffalo Sabres star Rasmus Dahlin. They were cross-checking each other, and then there was a jumping, and the Marchand usual playbook. If you haven't seen it, you've known it before. But he grabbed Dahlin's helmet, takes it to the penalty box. Is when he's in there, he rips the chin strap off and throws it out. It was I loved it. I thought it was pretty funny. Now for destroying NHL property, got fined $5,000 for unsportsmanlike conduct today. I don't know, Brownie, if you thought he should have got less or not at all. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, $5,000. I mean, you got to fine him because it's on camera. It looks bad if you're part of the league management. Like, we don't need that. To me, it's entertainment. I mean, Marchand, I watch his commercials now with Crosby and McKinnon, and I giggle. Like, that's him. He's a big personality. He likes it. He likes attention. What I didn't like the call on the ice. There was a cross-check. He got cross-check. He got mad, and he went after Dahlin. At the end of the day, he jumps Dahlin, throws about 8 punches, and the Buffalo Sabres only got a 2-minute man advantage out of it. I'm like, Kate, that's where the mistake was. I mean, give him 2-5 in a game. I like Marchand. I hope that I look forward to him playing for Team Canada in the Olympics. There's so many good things about him, but I have to admit, he jumped the guy and started throwing punches. He deserves more than an extra 2 minutes. So I didn't like that part. As far as the helmet, I mean, I'm just giggling. I'm just like, okay, it's entertainment, and what it does, it just again puts a fun spotlight on NHL hockey, because here we are talking about a guy who took a penalty and then the theatrics that he does in the penalty box afterwards.
And finally, Mark Stone seems to be out again. I was actually watching this game last night, Vegas and Calgary. Ooh, Calgary, 1 win. It's not going well there. They can't score, they can't defend. But Mark Stone looks like he has a wrist injury. He just kind of went off. It looked innocent enough, kind of a little bit similar in nature to what we saw from Hyman last year in the playoffs when he hurt his wrist. As of 5 o'clock on Sunday, I haven't seen an update. They thought they might get one either Sunday or Monday from their coaching staff. But Mark Stone has a history of kind of having some issues, but he is out at least in the short term until we know what's going on with his wrist, guys.
Well, and that hurts a lot to Vegas. Like, Vegas has gotten off to a pretty good start. And what they thought at first they would put Marner and Eichel together, the big signing of Marner. But they realized that Eichel plays so well with Stone and Barbashev, and Eichel's having an unbelievable start to the season. Now you got Marner, a 100-point guy on your second line, with the young Russian kid and Hurdle. Now they're having a good start to the season. Vegas is good. But the problem for Stone, who is a fantastic hockey player, is he is always hurt. And not only does this hurt Vegas, he's a part of the Olympic team. He would be in your top 6 on the Olympic team. So you hope that this injury is short, that it's just precautionary, or he is back quickly, because to me, the Olympics, I can't wait to see the games in February. And I'm looking forward to hopefully a Canadian gold medal. I believe that Mark Stone is a big part of that team, so I hope he's healthy. But yes, if there's one thing that you can say about Mark Stone's career, other than Stanley Cup champion, it has been injury prone.
Right on. Good wrap up, boys. That was Taking a Couple of Laps, brought to you by Riverside Motorsports. Brownie, thanks for hopping in, buddy. We will chat after Tuesday's game against the Ottawa Senators, pal.
Sounds good, guys. Go Jays, go!
All right. Enjoy the game, buddy. That is Rob Brown. Before we get to a break, we are going to get to a scoreboard. Not a lot going on, obviously, because it was an afternoon game, but some action on the schedule there, Strud, so we can chat a little bit about that and maybe look ahead to the Oilers game against the Senators here. And our scoreboard, as always, is brought to you by The Bridge Sports Therapy. What sets them apart? The fully integrated model. Physiotherapists, chiropractors, massage therapists, and strength coaches all collaborating seamlessly as one team, with clinics at Edmonton, Sherwood Park, Lethbridge, and opening soon in St. Albert's, providing accessible team-based care across Alberta. Learn more at thebridge.fit. Like I said, Struds, not a lot of action to go over at this point in the show, but a little bit here and there.
Well, I think it's important to talk about the Vancouver Canucks. They won today 4-3 over the Caps. They got the first 4 goals, and then it rolled 3 in a row here for the Caps. But if you're a Canucks fan, as I know the Blomskinator is, knowing Elias Pettersson got on the scoreboard or a goal would be massive for him. He has not had a good start, and there was a lot of talk about he gained weight and he was healthy finally. Well, it hasn't quite gone the way they want, but at least he scored today, and that's a big one for that. The Ducks and Blackhawks just getting going. Of course, Joan Quenneville returning back to Chicago, and from reports on Twitter, it sounds like there was a mixed response to his return there. And then later tonight, we got the Bruins and the Mammoth going at it. So light schedule tonight. They go a couple nights, then Tuesday's a heavier game night for sure.
Yeah, so let's talk about the setup here against the Senators. Like, an opportunity. It hasn't been a good road trip. They're not going to come back saying it was a successful road trip, Struds. But if you can go in there and grab that game, you come back feeling better about yourself, saying, not ideal, but it's pointed in the right direction. Or you're saying, abject disaster. 4 straight losses on that road trip would be a train wreck coming home.
It would be. And then you've got Montreal, I believe, on Thursday, which high energy, high firing, a lot of action. So I think the Oilers will be able to have a lot of energy for that game. So they got to find a way to get energy into this game on Tuesday. Now, they're without their captain. If you don't know that, Brady Tkachuk is out for, let's call it 6 weeks. Had surgery on his wrist. He's the heartbeat of that team, but Shane Pinto's off to a great start here for the Ottawa Senators. So there's a pathway here to a win for sure. I'm not sure Ottawa's goaltending has been great as well. I look forward to seeing a very direct north-south workman-like game from the Edmonton Oilers, in one in which they get 25 to 30 shots. I think that needs to be at 8 to 10 shots per period should be the minimum for this group, when they do have a lot of talented wingers and centers on this group.
Our scoreboard and look ahead is brought to you by The Bridge Sports Therapy and Training. All right, quick break. When we come back, ask us anything, whatever you want to know. Fire it in on the stream. Zuby's keeping track of it. We have that and our play of the day coming up here on Got Your Back, presented by Timberhouse Developments.
Riverside Motorsports is your ultimate multi-brand dealer. With a massive lineup of motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, snow bikes, e-bikes, and snowmobiles, all under one roof. With Alberta's best selection, a huge parts and accessories inventory, and a fully certified service department, Riverside has everything you need to ride. Family-owned and serving Edmonton for over 55 years, see what they have to offer in-store just off St. Albert Trail or online at riversidemotorsports.com.
For over 60 years, Belvedere Golf and Country Club has delivered a high-quality membership experience to Edmonton and area. And now it's even better. Drainage and irrigation improvements in 2024 have taken course conditions to a new level. This commitment to long-term sustainability means exceptional playing conditions all season long. Belvedere's tee sheet availability is unmatched, so join now and experience golf the way it was meant to be played, on your schedule. Visit BelvedereGCC.com today. Would you call this soothing after a loss, Oiler fan? I feel like this just soothes the nerves. Welcome back to Got Your Back. Time now for Ask Us Anything, brought to you by BJ Electric Supplies. Founded in 1976, BJ Electric is a full-line distributor providing quality wholesale electrical products for use in industrial, commercial, and residential settings. Proudly owned and operated in Edmonton. Check them out online, bjelectric.ca. Active stream, active chat going on there, Zuby. I saw people arguing. I saw you kind of blocking and timing out some people. A lot going on.
Yeah, it's been mostly constructive. I don't like the negativity, the spamming. You can say whatever you want, but you can say it once and then you have to move on. That's kind of how it's all seen. Don't worry, people. I see you and you're seen, and don't spam my chat, please. And thank you.
I love it. The gatekeeper, hey, Struddy? He's like the troll on the bridge.
Heavy hand.
They're the trolls. I'm not the troll. They are the trolls. Okay. Okay, some interesting stuff here to get to. Hontorio Momes says they have 7 new players, some of whom have never played in the NHL. New lines every period does not seem like a recipe for success. Is that... Oh, we got to get to the poll as well. Does that fall under chemistry? Is chemistry a problem for this team, or are you guys okay with the line blender? It seems like such a drastic switch, too, because they had the game everyone was ranting and raving about. I think the game that they beat the Canucks, where they literally played 4 forward lines, did not deviate once, and then they get on this road trip, and this is the state of things. Struddy, is that a problem, or just the state of things?
It's a byproduct of not scoring, right? I think that they're trying to find offense, right? You have to manufacture. They have to find some chemistry somewhere. So once they find that, then I think the lines will stabilize more than they have in the first handful of games here.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't leave lines together for long to begin with, but this is the turbo blender he's got going on, like changes within changes after periods. And yeah, there's a lot going on with these lines right now. They're searching for something. And I agree, it's not a recipe for success.
Neil Garrity pointing out it's Evan Bouchard's birthday today or tomorrow. I can't remember. They mentioned it on the broadcast. I hope the team ties one on tonight. They got the day off. There's will the travel be still today, or will it be tomorrow?
They'd fly. I'd be blown away if they didn't fly tonight, because you gain all this time, right? I know Detroit to Ottawa can't be more than an hour or 2.
Right.
So I think that they'd fly tonight because they can get in early enough, then have a nice sleep in tomorrow, a full day off tomorrow, and then maybe a quick skate Tuesday morning, then play. I don't know, Shaugger.
Is this the time, though? Is this the time for them to go out, celebrate Bouch's birthday, tie one on? That was kind of the second part of the question.
Oh.
Is those things kind of pop up throughout the season? Is this the time for one? Can you think of one, Struddy, where you were, on a team where it just became so apparent that that's what was needed?
Oh yeah, many times. But maybe it wasn't what they were needed, but that's what we were doing. I think it's a different generation. I would not anticipate that happening, especially if they all do go to Ottawa tonight, because every Jim, Tim, and Bob will have their Instagram account with pictures of these guys out in the bar. So I think it's unlikely. I think they'll get there and just chill out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think this is 3 straight losses, a road trip that's been a disaster. I just can't imagine they're feeling like they've earned the right to play guilty next game in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, Peter Matichuk reminding us Perry or Kane getting into a fight every game would be nice right now. They need someone to drag them into the game. Remember the Oilers' record last season early, that it was like every game they had a fight in, they won. Those are the games they were winning, and those were, well, Kane wasn't there obviously, but Perry was heavily involved. They still have guys who could do that. Is that something you're looking to for a spark right now, Shaugger?
Well, I mean, it would be nice if anybody thought that way, but nobody does. I'm never going to say I expect people to go fight. I'm sort of past that. That's a little bit, I don't know, that going and finding a fight and, getting in a punch in the face contest is, I'm not going to say I expect anybody to do that. But if a few guys wanted to play in away struds where somebody maybe got a little bit angry at them, then I would say that might achieve a similar type of goal. But it's not the expectation of the coaching staff nor the coach, and it's not the way they've built the lineup. So, yeah.
Yeah, Petro. So Kane didn't play last year, so he didn't have any fights during the regular season. And then, Perry, how many fights did he have? 5 or 6, maybe? I'd have to look it up. Not many.
Dude, so many, right? Dude, that is so many in today's game. That is so many fights.
I know, but they didn't decrease the number of games. That's 82 games. So it wasn't like there's that many. What they need to do is to just play the way that they are meant to be built to play, which is fast, play deep, use your speed, and make the other team suffer with it. And they haven't really done it. We have not seen one game from start to finish with the Oilers' best. I think that what you do is you get the other team off their game by playing that way. A fight, listen, I did a lot of times. I try to spark my team by getting a fight. Those days aren't really around anymore, right? Look around the league. How many times do you see that? I watched a lot of games last night. There weren't many fights, unless you want to talk to Brad Marchand about his fight with Rasmus Dahlин's helmet. There wasn't a lot going on. So it's different. You have to intimidate and tilt the ice by the way you play and make them react to you.
Kind of continuing on that sort of same train of thought, D. White says, I thought Frederick was supposed to be a cheaper, younger version of Kane. So far, I'd rather have Kane over Frederick any day. Is that a fair enough comparison, Shaugger, or unfair?
Well, Frederick is there to fill a role that Kane was also there to fill. Now, Frederick, in terms of being able to score in a top 6 role, I don't think that expectation is there. And Kane, at his best, certainly was able to. But I would say that Trent Frederick's role on this team is to skate fast, hit hard, chip in the odd goal, be difficult to play against, make other teams' players uncomfortable, stand up for any teammates that find themselves in need of it, and to basically just be a bit of an X factor on a team that basically has next to none of it. And he has not done that in any way, shape, or form. I don't know, Struds, is any of that unfair?
No, I think, and I do think it's unfair that there's none of that on this team. Let's go through it. Nurse, Podkolzin, Ekholm. I think Leon can be that way at times, right? They have, and then Frederick, that's 5 guys. That's 5 out of 18 dressed. So that's almost a third of your lineup.
Well, maybe we're not talking about the same thing. Because the only other one you mentioned that's ever shown a consistent ability or willingness to play that way is Nurse. What I'm talking about is be someone that makes the other team uncomfortable.
Right, but you can make them uncomfortable by being physical. Podkolzin led the Oilers with hits. Is that not making the other team uncomfortable? Hyman did it in the playoffs last year. That's making you uncomfortable. So
sure.
So the problem I think that we have here as people who cover the Oilers and then fans is that we remember the golden days of Corey Perry and Evander Kane and them chirping, getting involved with everyone. How many the Oilers were blessed to have 2 of them on the same team? Look at around the other league. So Calgary has Lombard, right? That's his name. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who does Winnipeg have that does that? Who do Ottawa? Well, they have Brady Tkachuk. He's their captain. Winnipeg Jets. Sorry, did I say Winnipeg already? Who does Montreal?
Canucks have Kane, Sherwood.
Yeah, 2 guys. Who does LA Kings have? They have Corey Perry. So there's 1 or 2 a team is what I'm saying here. And the Oilers are blessed to have arguably 2 of the best 3 in the league last year.
Couple more, Zuby.
That would be Lomberg, the Lamborghini. Now that
Lombard, Lombard. Why am I got their name wrong? Thank you.
No worries. Dirt Engineer, he's got a thought here. Is lack of practice time with the team, with the travel, hurting the team? Is it, and is that, Struddy, you love practice and talking about practice. Specifically, maybe at this time of the year, early in the year, struggling to score, is the lack of practice with the road trip, could that be having an effect?
Yeah, I mean, every team kind of goes through, and I guess that's a bad answer. But I think that you do need practice just to revisit. I always liked it when I felt our team was struggling in one area or another, and a coach would put 30 minutes into that. So we're going to skate for 30 minutes, and 22 of it is going to be specifically designed for what we need: back checking, forward checking, getting pucks to the net, being physical, competing, whatever. And I love that, and I think that is important. It's something you do miss because, like I said, I would think it's unlikely the Oilers practice tomorrow. Maybe they do, then they don't have morning skate Tuesday. But to have that, and just as a refocus, hey boys, this is how we got to play. And then you get going again. So yes, I do think at times it does hurt the team. Now you got a bit of change on the fly, and recall games where we've done it really well. Like if they were to go back and say, hey, let's look at this game. We did this really well. There's maybe one game in there that you'd want to pull some clips out of, but the rest, especially in the last 3 or 4, haven't been great.
And Knobloch did mention as they were heading out on this road trip how little practice time they have. So you're trying to work Matt Savoyan with the top power play unit. When is he getting any reps there? You want to shift some lines around. What kind of puck touches are they getting as units? So considering how much the lineup is in flux, probably even adds to it a little bit.
Okay. Sorry. Anything else on that, Shreddy?
Nope. That's good.
Thought you're going to go. Okay, last 2 here. I'm going to go both to Noel Rinsky. He's put a bunch into the chat here, and we appreciate him, and he's got a couple of good ones. First, I want to go here because lots of people were talking about, again, the lack of shots on goal. So Noel Rinsky saying, do you believe, sort of the old adage, that putting the puck on net is never the worst play? And before I get you guys to answer that, I just want to say there was the one play tonight where Isaac Howard came up the ice. He was late on a shift and he just threw a soft shot on net. And my first thought was, oh, what are you doing? That's nothing. And then the goalie froze it and they got an offensive faceoff with the top line out there. So it seemed like a nothing play, but in retrospect, oh yeah, that sets up a much better position than they were just in. So the question was, do you believe putting the puck on net is never the worst play in regards to the Oilers' low shot totals here, Struddy?
Everything with context. So, there's a lot of chatter about the Oilers D and how many pucks they're getting to the net. In theory, I have no problem with the Oilers D man putting pucks to the net, but it's what's going on in front of you. So let's say we're buzzing the offensive zone, we're working the puck east, west, north, south. Then a D man gets it at let's say the top of the circles. There's no traffic in front. The goalie can see it, and you just shoot it. You've wasted it. We had an advantage. Now we don't have the advantage anymore. You gave them a chance to clock out and pause it. That's a bad time to make that play. Now, let's say we're working east-west, we're going north-south, and now I get the puck in the middle. There's traffic in front. Their D-men are falling down. Boom. Let's have a shot at the net because it can go in. There can be a rebound or deflection that goes in or a rebound. So there's lots of different things. So the timing and when and where you shoot from and what's going on in front of the goalie matters, and there's context to it. Again, same thing. If you're forward and you're behind the net, you just kind of wrap around, jam it, nothing really happens. I'm not sure that's the play, but if you take it, maybe you drive the far post and you jam it, creates a log jam in front, there's a rebound, that's a different situation. So you have to read the situation. So no, I don't believe in putting the puck in the net in every situation. Depends what's going on in those moments. And we'd have to look at them all for me to say yes or no to the time of putting the puck on the net.
Well, the element I'll add, Struds, is I think it also depends on where your team's game is at. Like if you're functioning at a high level and you're zipping it around and making good plays and the guys are feeling it, then yeah, if you float an easy one in when you've got McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice in a mismatch, yeah, not the right play. But when your game is struggling and when you're not getting much opportunity offensively, when you're making all kinds of mistakes and turning pucks over, I think there's an element of simplifying your game that can be a remedy. So for what the Oilers are faced with right now, I do believe I'm willing to accept some Ike Howard, maybe unnecessary shots on net or some blue liners floating it in without the proper traffic in front. If what comes from that, Struds, is the basic idea of start getting pucks to the net because you're not generating. I'm okay with that as a remedy to what's going on with their game right now, rather than trying to get fancier and more selective about when you are and aren't going to shoot.
Yeah, no, I guess I agree to that to the point. But there's got to be a purpose to everything you do. And the Ike Howard example that you gave, Zub, I remember it. The purpose was we're getting an offensive faceoff, right? So now let's say the goalie grabs it, everyone's changing, and that goalie hammers it all the way down the other end, and now you're leading their fast break. That is not the purpose. So again, it's all contextual with me about when and we're not on our shooting the puck.
Okay, final one here. Noel Rinsky also wants to know, he said to Struddy and Brownie, of course, Struddy and Shaugger, have you ever met a fan/reporter that was critical online or in the paper, but then was nice as pie when they met you in person? We don't have to name names if you don't want to. Or we could flip that too, and maybe you think of someone who met you in person and doubled down and came over the top, came off the top rope with the Macho Man elbow to seal the deal.
I find most of the time people that are really, Tony Tough Nuts online are very docile in life. And I get it. You get excited, and we've all tweeted stuff we probably like to have back about an individual or something. But I remember one time I put a tweet out there and someone criticized me and went after my mom and my sister online. So I went through all their history. I found which men's hockey league team they played for. It was a plumber shop. And I called the plumber shop and left my name and number. And I did it a couple times. I left my name and number. Jason Strudwick, former NHLer, one of your employees made a comment about my mom and wife. I'd love to talk to him about it and or his boss. Within 24 hours, that Twitter account was deleted and it was gone. And I never heard from that chicken shit again.
Yeah, I had one not too long ago, and I'm not going to say any names, but I was in the middle of doing some reporting on a really important story, and it was another reporter that decided to get chirpy on Twitter about my reporting and just fired a few darts and got really chirpy and kind of crappy about it. So I just reached out in a text and said, hey, I see you got some issues with my reporting. Why don't you give me a call and we can talk it through, and I'll kind of tell you where I'm coming from. And, always interested in feedback. Went right to them. And I basically got this note back, this sort of bitchy little note that was like, I stand by what I said and I'm not going to be yelled at by you and blah, blah. It was pathetic, but it basically was like saying, no, I'm not going to talk to you. And I don't want to get in, no, it was, I couldn't believe it was coming from a fellow reporter. So that told me all I needed to know. Most people, when you confront them and go at them, they'll kind of be like, I've had lots of instances, Struds, where I've engaged with people and I've been like, why are you being like that? And they're like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. But then you can just have a bit of a conversation and then it's fine. Right. I think naturally people can be a little aggressive online. Their first instinct is to like dunk on you or like be really harsh or like, this is how I'm going to get noticed. And so, but if you're just like, dude, why are you talking like that? Like who talks to people like that? Most of the time they're like, yeah, fair enough. Whatever. So I find when you call people on their BS, the online persona kind of drops and then you figure out who you're actually talking to.
All right, we're gonna wrap up the poll so we don't forget. The DeBoer's Golf Shop and Fitting Center YouTube poll. The question tonight was, what is missing most from this team right now? And this surprises me a little bit. Effort worked its way through and stole the number one spot in the poll at 31% of the vote. Execution second at 29%. Chemistry third at 23%, and urgency fourth at 17%. Nearly 300 votes. So does that mean anything that the
number one?
Effort? Does that mean anything that's the perception, right or wrong? Is that an issue, a problem?
A problem for the players or a problem for the players because the fans think they're not trying hard?
I don't know. A problem for the organization if the perception is that the effort's not there.
I think fans are frustrated right now. They're frustrated right now. It's 3 straight losses. Team's not playing well. Offense isn't clicking. Nothing's going right. I think fans are sitting there watching and super frustrated. I wouldn't necessarily say the team's not trying hard enough, Struds. I just think that they got to kind of figure out who they want to be out there and everybody do a better job doing their job.
Yeah, I do think it's completely execution. The coach isn't telling them to play this way. They're being shown, I'm sure, clips, praising them, hoping they'll go one way or play this way, play north-south, and they haven't. So let's look at what happens Tuesday. I think we'll see a different approach by the Oilers. And again, I'll stand by. I bet you they get 30 shots Tuesday night.
And I would have thought that they would have done that today. I would have thought that they would have bounced back that way today. So let's see if they can in a couple of days. That was Ask Us Anything, brought to you by BJ Electric. Time to wrap it up with our play of the day, brought to you by Mainline Water and Sewer, your trusted choice for over 40 years, specializing in sewer line replacement and expert water line repair and replacement. Check them out online, mainlinewaterandsewer.ca. Struds, what are we going to go with, buddy? What do you got today?
Every Blue Jays fan was so happy to see George Springer playing as a DH for the Blue Jays today. I am so happy. I don't want, if they do go out tonight, I don't want them going out without George Springer in the lineup. So he is playing tonight. Thank the baseball gods for that.
All right. We wrapped up in plenty of time so people can go watch the game. Thanks so much for joining us on the live stream today. We had a great audience. We really appreciate all your contributions. John Gillis, we'll leave you with this note from John Gillis. Noted, don't make fun of Struddy's family or him. He will come to your workplace like Jason Statham in Transporter and confront you. Do not mess with Strud's family, or straight up, he will find you, folks. Zuby, nice job today, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I picture Struddy more like Jay and Silent Bob, if you've ever seen that, when they go after all the people who have trolled them. It's pretty funny.
My favorite thing to throw at people is like, dude, do you talk to people in real life this way? And then that generally snaps them out of it. So I don't necessarily need to go to the workplace, just a little cold logic, bucket of water in the face. That's it, folks. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you Tuesday after the Oilers and the Ottawa Senators. We'll see if they can snap this 3-game slide. This has been a presentation of Timberhouse Developments. It's got your back. We'll see you soon.